Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome to Finding Me on the ITV networks. Today a second and very dynamic interview with Professor Ramon Grosfoguel. Now, in the previous interview we spoke a little bit about Eurocentrism, about decolonialism, why it's important to still focus on these particular topics and to look at Islamophobia, to look at the rise of different fundamentalists, different groups, etc. within this Eurocentric perspective, and I think Professor wants to develop that a little bit more. So Professor, I'm not going to spend too much time on introductions, we've done that, but to carry forward the idea that you were speaking about. So when we ended, we spoke about this destruction of Islamic knowledge in Spain, Granada at that time, where you said there were more than 500,000 manuscripts there. And linking it to your conversation also, where you spoke about this, it shouldn't be just university or universalism, but should be pluriversal thought, bringing together all these diversities. And you saw that in Granada, isn't it? Because it was scholars from all over the world, not only Muslims, who contributed to that knowledge. And so the Islamic state at that time was perhaps the most democratic state, if you consider it in terms of the world today.
Absolutely.
And they destroyed that, and then you have this rise of a Eurocentric colonial power, and at the same time within the Islamic society and the Muslim world, not even Muslim world, as Tariq Ramadan would say, Muslim majority countries, you have the rise of Wahhabism, which generates the same kind of ideology as Eurocentrism, but you locate it still within a Eurocentric growth, or from different visions of Eurocentrism.
Yeah, because the problem is that because of the impact of European colonization of the world, there are many third world cultures that were colonized from within. That is, colonialism changed the theology of Islam in many places. You cannot understand, for example, Wahhabism today without understanding British colonialism, okay, and British imperialism. You can understand some of the expressions of Islam in the Maghreb today without understanding French colonialism. I give you a metaphor so you understand what I try to mean. When I went to Morocco, I remember that it was forbidden for non-Muslims to enter a mosque, okay? I was shocked because in the rest of the Islamic majority country, Muslim majority countries, it was no problem for people who are non-Muslim to enter a mosque. Since the times of the Prophet, non-Muslims could enter a mosque. Where is this coming from? I was shocked. Then I asked some people and they start citing me some hadiths. False hadiths, of course, but they start citing hadiths. So I was like, okay, what is this? I keep searching, and guess what? Since when in Morocco this happened? This happened since French colonialism. Mariscal Lyoté, the general of the French army in the occupation of Morocco, passed a law forbidding non-Muslims from enter mosque. Why? It's called divide and rule. If they allow non-Muslims to enter mosque, they will organize there the subversion of colonialism. So he wanted to keep the non-Muslims away from the mosque so that the different communities cannot get together. Can you keep them split? You see? And so he was afraid of that, so he passed a decree and forbid people from non-Muslims from entering the mosque. Then what happened? After several, more than 100 years now, that practice became a habit in Morocco. People forgot where it's coming from, and they turned it into some kind of authentic Islam.
So the theology is subverted.
So they subvert the theology from within. I'm giving you this example as a metaphor of what happened with Islam, but also with indigenous Aymara in Latin America, indigenous Mayas in Latin America, indigenous Bantus in Africa. It happened everywhere. That you have certain versions that pass as authentic that in fact are not authentic, are just recycling of colonial ideology in the name of some kind of authentic third world culture. Okay? And then to decolonize is a very strong and difficult task, because you need to know the history of the traditions, the history of colonialism, you see, to understand, okay, what is colonial from what we're saying and what is something that is really part of our tradition. So you need to do decolonization. It's not just to decolonize vis-a-vis the West, it's to decolonize vis-a-vis the West within.
Wow, that's intense.
So it's a jihad, an internal jihad, to use the Muslim term.
So how would you then look at ISIS?
ISIS, you cannot understand ISIS, and I always say that, you see that in the press everywhere, that these are some kind of medieval people, you know, like people that are just in medieval times, we're in modern times. No, ISIS is modernity. If you want to understand ISIS is, you need to understand the French Revolution. What did the French Revolution do, or did? The French Revolution constructed a nation state with the idea of one nation, one identity, one population. Everybody else needs to be taken away or assimilated by force. That's what they did. It's the same thing of the conquest of Al-Andalus. They went there, either you convert to Christianity or they kill you. And that's the beginning of the nation state there in the conquest of Al-Andalus. One state, one identity, one population. It was not like the Caliphate of Cordoba or the Sultanate of Granada, where you have diversity and respect of diversity. You have Jews, you have Christians, you have Muslims, people have their rights, you have Jewish philosophers like Maimonides, produced by Al-Andalus. There was no problem in you being Jews and thinking and producing knowledge with the Islamic civilization. Okay, so I'm saying this because the caliphate of the Islamic State is a reproduction of the Eurocentric idea of the nation state.
So are they also inverting the binaries?
They're just saying, okay, we are fighting the West and we put a caliphate that is interpreted with the same Eurocentric categories of the nation state. That is, one state, one identity, one population. Whoever is different, we kill them. That's what they did in Al-Andalus in the 15th century. That's what the French Revolution did after the 1789. Anybody who was different, they will assimilate or wipe out inside what we call today French territory. Okay, so this is a violent process that's modernity. Modernity is always tied to coloniality. There's no modern world without coloniality. There's no modern world without enslaving or colonizing someone else. So we need to get disenchanted with modernity, because the Islamic State is just a reproduction, is a colonization from within the tradition. The caliphate, instead of being that space where multiple identities, you see, existed, okay, and where even on top of the state it was no nation state, there were many ethnic groups, etc., in the elite of the caliphate, they turned it into a nation state. And they turn it into one identity, in this case, the Wahhabi Sunni version of Islam, and then anybody else, they kill them. Have you seen this? They go after the Kurds, they go after our Muslim Sunni, but still kill them because they're not Arab Muslims. They kill the minorities who happen not to be Muslim. They kill the Shias. They kill it's genocide. But it's again. It's a modern, you want to understand ISIS? You need to understand modernity. It's not ancient, it's Eurocentric. They're reproducing everything that Europeans have been doing all along for the past 500 years.
So they've imitated, basically.
They're just imitating. They're just, in the name of some authentic Islam, they're just carrying over all the concepts of Eurocentric thinking, you see, from within. And then many people who don't know Islam think, oh, that's Islam, and they get scared.
And they're using literal readings of the text to justify.
They use the same methods of the Christian Protestant sect, which is a literalist reading of the Bible, and they use the same methods in the Wahhabi ideology, which is exactly the same ideology of the Islamic State of Al-Qaeda. They are Wahhabis. They're following the same thing. And they're just reading literally the text in the same way the Christian fundamentalist Protestant sects do it. So you cannot understand these groups without understanding British colonialism and British imperialism, because they were highly influential in this form of Islam. The same way as you cannot understand what I mentioned to you as a metaphor about Morocco, this so-called authentic tradition of forbidding non-Muslims from entering the mosque, without understanding French colonialism. You see? And that's what I'm trying to say, that people get confused with these things because they don't know
the history,
they don't know the tradition, they don't know many things. The West has been very successful at essentializing the culture of everybody and making a problem of everybody in humanity except themselves. You know, Europe and modernity is the solution. The rest are problem people. The black problem, the Muslim problem, the African problem, the Latin, they're always calling everybody a problem,
yes,
except themselves. They're the solution, you see? And wait a minute, I mean, what you have created through colonialism is also these forms of fundamentalisms that are a mirror of the West. Instead of seeing it as some kind of alternative from the West, they're really a mirror of the West.
A product of the West.
A product of the West, in the sense that you are not only producing it militarily and economically, but also epistemically. Because that's why I say Eurocentrism is the worst form of fundamentalism, because they produce it financially, militarily. They're the ones who create all these networks of jihadism, okay, for their own global colonial imperial designs. But at the same time, they're the worst form because they create these variations of Eurocentrism, as I said in the other program. They just invert the binaries of the West, so they are a variation of Eurocentric thought. They're not really beyond Eurocentrism. They're
not
just
authentic.
Repeating Eurocentric ideology in the name of some kind of authentic Islam or authentic Yoruba or authentic Aymara or whatever, you see?
Okay, so we have to go to a break. When we come back, but I want to take this into a discussion a little bit more on Islamophobia, and I want to bring in a little bit about Fanon as well. So we'll see you after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome to the second segment of the second interview on ITV today with Professor Grosfoguel. And we were speaking, before the break, we were speaking about Eurocentrism as the worst form of fundamentalism. And Professor, welcome back, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, you've raised a lot of questions in my mind, and I know that you speak extensively about the fall of Andalus and the start of this whole idea of coloniality and the destruction, the epistemicide of the different genocides, etc. But I just want to ask one quick question on that before we come to your whole discussion on Islamophobia, and that is that when these libraries were destroyed, when there was an epistemicide of Islamic civilization, etc., and of course then you said that the West, the Europeans, appropriated the knowledge that they got from the Islamic civilizations, but today they invert that and turn around in their form of Islamophobia and tell the Muslims, oh, okay, you had those 800 glorious years in Spain, but since then you've produced nothing. But I want to link that to the idea of Fanon, where Fanon says that one of the greatest forms of violence is to deny people political participation. And so when they created when this epistemicides happened, you speak about the coup d'etats, the imposition of military dictatorships, especially in the Muslim majority countries, in the African countries, etc. These are points at which people are denied political participation. And so at that point, their mental development, their ability to produce, for knowledge production, creativity, etc., together with political growth is stifled. And so is that also part of this project of modernity, to ensure that through these processes, those people whom we say are inferior, we keep them inferior?
Yeah, because what happened is that with the European colonial expansion is that they destroy all the other civilizations. That is, European civilization when they colonized the rest of the world. Today we are in a planetary civilization led by the West. We are in a Western civilization planetary system, okay? They destroy everything. We cannot say there is a remaining, or like we cannot say, oh, there is another civilization. That's why this clash of civilization is just a joke, because there's no such a thing as civilizations coexisting today. They destroy all of them. In Africa, in Latin America, in Asia, everywhere, including inside Europe. They destroy all the existing civilizations, you know, that coexisted through thousands of years, you know, over, around the world. They destroyed that from 1492 on with the European colonial expansion. So today what you have are cultures, different cultures, but not different civilizations, okay? So that means that we are all different cultures inside a Western-centric, dominant, hegemonic civilization, okay? So they came and destroyed, in Al-Andalus, they destroyed the library, destroyed people, etc. They did forced conversion, okay? And that's what I'm saying. You want to understand, the Islamic State and the Caliphate of the Islamic State, you need to see the Christian monarchy, conquest of Al-Andalus. You need to see the French Revolution. Look how many heads the French Revolution cut off. They decapitated a lot of people, okay? And it's the same thing. And of course, in the name of what? On some kind of state that is homogeneous, you see, and keep everybody down, you see, and whoever is inside their territory has to assimilate to their version of identity or Christianity in the French or in the other. Here is not Christianity, it's Islam, but it's the same Eurocentric project, you see. It had nothing to do with caliphates that existed in the past, nothing to do. The caliphate never have this universalist pretension, and never had this assimilationist pretension, and they never had this nation-state pretension, okay? So what happened? You destroy the civilization, you destroy the infrastructure of knowledge production. And now the West is the one controlling your structures of knowledge production under colonialism. Then suddenly, of course, Islamic civilization and Islamic knowledge went down. And now you come back, erase the history of 300 years, 400 years of colonialism, of colonizing Muslim lands, of destroying the infrastructure of Muslim lands, of African lands, of Latin American lands, of Asian lands, everywhere in the world. Then you become the sole authority of knowledge. And now you come and say, you know what? Maybe in the past these people were sages, but now, look, they are in decay. We are the new kids in the block. But wait a minute. Well, how did that decay happen? How did that happen? Tell me the history of that. They don't want to go there. If they go there, they will show you, they will have to show you that they were the one who destroyed their infrastructure of knowledge production all over the world, not just in Islamic civilization, but the Inca, the Mayas, the Chinese, you go around the world, they did this all over the world, okay? And that's why then they built their epistemic privilege by destroying people and knowledges, okay? And in the colonization process, they were also managed to transform the theology, transform the cosmology, transform the knowledges, while appropriating and stealing and plundering not only wealth, but knowledge from those civilizations.
But they
because the sciences, they got it from there.
But they have the help of collaborators from within those societies.
Of course, they have collaborators from within the societies that were always there, collaborating with projects of domination and exploitation. The collaborators were always there, that participated in, to get some kind of crumbs. Okay?
It was financial in most cases.
Yeah, they got some money to do the work, etc., and there will be intermediaries doing the work for the West. You always have that. But the point is how the West, that's the technology of colonization, using local populations to colonize the whole population.
Divide and conquer.
Okay, divide and conquer, that kind of thing. But the point is that the destruction of this civilization and their infrastructure of knowledge production is what produced this so-called decay. okay? And now you come back with an smile, innocent smile, okay? I'm saying the West, the West come with an innocent smile saying, oh, this Islam might have had these glorious years, but now look, they have nothing now. But wait, they have nothing because you have destroyed them. Now, that doesn't mean that they're gonna have in the future the construction of other infrastructure knowledge production, you see, that could be enrich the world. And the same thing with Africa. And other African culture are non-Muslim. The same thing with indigenous people in America. Same thing in Asia.
It can only happen through decolonization.
It can only happen through decolonization. That's why I love this Rhodes Must Fall movement, because they're calling to decolonize
the university,
the
Western university.
The westernized university. It's not to destroy the university.
No.
It's to decolonize it from this Western-centric tradition of thought that is provincialism disguised as universalism, that is epistemically racist and sexist, you see, and because it inferiorizes the knowledge of everybody else. And the only game in town is the white males of 5 countries in the disciplines in the social science or the humanities. You are in South Africa. How could you be looking at South Africa using the categories of people who are thinking and producing knowledge in relation to other historical contexts that have nothing to do.
And who have actually subjugated you for so many years as
well.
Yeah,
and that also subjugated you and have been taking advantage of you and plundering your country, etc., and your people, you see, and now you still want to do anti-imperialist, anti-colonial, anti-apartheid, you see.
Without being decolonial.
Without being decolonial.
Right.
If you really want to move beyond apartheid, you need to stop epistemic apartheid. You need to stop economic apartheid. You need to stop cultural apartheid. You need to decenter white supremacy. You need to destroy white supremacy.
But when people hear you talk like that, they'll say, oh, you're against all whites, or you hate white people.
No, I'm saying white people can be part of the project as long as they think of themselves as one more. And as long as they embrace epistemic diversity. If they come to the conversation thinking that they're the center of the conversation, then we are in trouble. That's not a dialogue, that's a monologue.
Right.
You see? And if they come to the conversation bringing only their authors without willing to listen to other authors, other thinkers have thought about in other geographies of the planet, then that's a problem. That's not a dialogue, that's a monologue. Now, every time I talk like this, someone will say, oh, but this guy is anti-white, he's anti-European, he's a fundamentalist. No. Listen, I'm calling for epistemic diversity. I don't want to do to Western men what Western men have done to the rest of the world. Western men have eliminated, eradicated, inferiorized the knowledge of everybody to be them the only soul of knowledge. I don't want to do that. I want to keep them there. We can learn from them, but as one more, not as the center of the conversation. They're not anymore the center. We have to recenter our thoughts in relation to the geography where we are. You see, well, we have to recenter from an African perspective. We have to recenter from indigenous Latin American perspective. We have to recenter from a black perspective. We have to recenter from Asian perspective, from Buddhist perspective, from Bantu, from Yoruba, from etc. We have to recenter our knowledge. We have to reconstruct. And then we can enter in dialogue and learn from others. There's no problem with that. But people hear what I'm saying always as if I was rejecting Europeans or whites and that's it. I'm not saying that. Okay?
Okay, so we're left with the last 30 seconds, and I just want you to give a parting thought to the decolonial movement of the Rhodes Must Fall here in South Africa. Parting thought.
I think, first of all, I have relationships with some of the people who participate in the struggle of against the statue of Rhodes at Rhodes University, but some of them came to my courses on decolonizing knowledge and power and decolonizing the decolonial school here in South Africa and in Barcelona. So some of them went to my courses, so I knew some of them. To my surprise, and it was a positive surprise, I saw that they mobilized to create, to build this movement at Rhodes University, and I saw it as a positive move because it's a struggle to destroy epistemic apartheid and to decolonize the university from these racist epistemic structures, okay, that and for the need to bring epistemic diversity to those space of the university so that you move beyond this Western-centric paradigm of knowledge production. It's so problematic, so racist, so sexist, so, I mean, they always Western man of 5 countries. How could you produce serious knowledge thinking only from the perspective of Western man of 5 countries? French, German, British, American, or Italians.
Okay, so we have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Professor, and thank you for being an inspiration to the decolonial movement in South Africa. With that, fi amanillah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.